Hello, friends. How are we doing? I have a post here I'm going to read for you. And again, this isn't posted on my personal subreddit, so I'm going to try to avoid using usernames unless they're really cool with that. But I always kind of assume that they're not. So, this is a question. Am I a neckbeard / female equivalent? Well, the word is Legbeard, dear. Before we start things off, here's some context. I am a woman of high school age. I'll make a note of that. Myself and my friends are all fans of this one cartoon. Technically, it isn't an anime. Since I don't want to name names, let's just call it W. I mentioned it by name in the post on other subreddits. For convenience, we'll skip that. There's a cast of 4 main characters that are those of the opposite sex to my own, all of them being men. Also all legal adults. They don't really have a specific age, but judging by voices and appearance, you'd estimate 20s, right? I have a disliking of taking care of my personal hygiene. Yeah, make fun of me, I can see it coming. Because I am incredibly lazy. I have fantasized, dreamed of, and imagined sexual intercourse with these characters of this show. I prefer the characters of the show over real members of the opposite sex due to past experiences. I have a weird obsession with junk food, I like video games, I personally believe I'm fat and unattractive, and I have considered making and buying a body pillow of a character from the show. But I don't lash out on people, I don't act like a pervert towards real life people, I don't claim to be nice, I don't believe in the whole black pill thing, and pretty much everything else. So am I a neckbeard, or am I just weird? Well, let's Uncle Moonhorse here sit down and think about this one for a minute. Let's go through what you have. So you have an obsession with a show. But, to counter this, you're also quite young. See, I tend to go a lot easier in any stories of a description of someone who is a neckbeard or a legbeard or any of those things, typically when they are about this person's age. When you're about a high school age, I tend to let that go unless things get really, really dark or really, really bad. Teenagers are teenagers, man. It happens. And having a thing for a fictional character, especially when you're a teenager, is not unheard of. For fuck's sake, it's been happening since I was a teenager and I'm in my 30s. I'm sure it'll keep happening long after I'm no longer around. There's a thought we don't want to think about, is it, kids? Sunshine and happiness, don't imagine it. But this is really just kind of a normal thing. That's not all that surprising. So the obsession with the show, even the idea of the body pillow and all this other stuff, it's because you're young. You have a very deep affection for this show. The thing that you have said is considered making or buying a body pillow of a character. You haven't actually done it. So there's a lot of people who will consider doing certain things, but then never do it for one reason or another. That's a big thing. Intent is a big thing. You can intend to do something and then not do it. And that's a whole different thing. You can intend to wreck your car into the side of a McDonald's, but then not do it. And the not doing it is the part that counts. Actions matter more than intent. This can also go in the negative way, but we're not dwelling on that. Now, the other things. We've already talked about the obsession of a character. That's fine, I've seen that before. I've seen people in the furry community who are obsessed with their own character. You're obsessed with a character from a show. Imagine being obsessed with a character you made up. Yeah, that's a thing. More than you possibly could imagine. Let's see. I prefer the characters of this show over real members of the opposite sex due to past experiences. And there's one of your answers. You prefer this fictional relationship because it's an idealized relationship. The fictional character is the perfect boyfriend. And before anybody gets mad at me, let me explain. He is the perfect boyfriend because he literally can't have any opinions that are not the opinions that you give him. So therefore, to the human mind, this is perfection, because they literally are incapable of disagreeing with you or doing something you don't like. It is always just the thing you imagine. That is the reason why a lot of neckbeards and legbeards tend to crave fictional relationships, because a fictional relationship is far easier to control and to deal with than an actual relationship. I'll use my own as an example. Don't get excited. My own relationship with Sango, we have different interests in things. We like certain things, but when it comes to specifics, we don't like the exact same thing. For example, we have two different kinds of video games that we enjoy the most. We both like playing games, but when it comes to what type of video games we enjoy, our tastes tend to differ a little bit. Now, to most people, that's pretty nothing. It's pretty minimal. It doesn't mean anything. But to some people, that's a deal breaker. To some people, that's a very important thing. And not just because it's about the video game thing, but think about anything. This is the difference. When it comes to my relationship, it's because I know, understand, and am completely okay with the fact that she's an individual. She's going to do things that, I personally am not a fan of. She's going to do things that she likes and maybe I don't understand. Sometimes we'll do these things together, even if I'm not a huge fan of them, and I want to know about them, so maybe I will be a fan of them, and vice versa. That's the thing with an actual relationship, is it involves exposing yourself to another person. But in that exposition, that can also be really scary. That's the kind of thing that you really have to trust the other person before you're willing to get into it. And sometimes you're not willing to go that far. I went through a string of really bad relationships before I got into the one I'm in now, so I kind of understand where you're coming from. I had some pretty rotten experiences. And before I met Sango, I was in a place where I didn't think that I would ever date anyone ever again. That the idea of dating, the idea of meeting someone, the idea of starting over was such a terrifying thought that I simply could not imagine it. But that's not where I am now. Past experiences, they are in the past. That being said, I don't know what past experiences you've had. I don't know how good and bad they are. Certain things maybe scare you off from this kind of stuff for good. And if that's the case, and I'm totally out of line, I'm really sorry. I did not mean to condescend or anything like that. I'm only trying to empathize. Though sometimes I can be wrong. I'm just a space unicorn. I'm not like a wizard. Come on. The obsession with junk food? Hell, that makes two of us. No, you're fine. My obsession with chocolate, coffee, and wine is the kind of thing they write fucking stories about. I will burn this planet to the ground if they ever get rid of all three. Don't cross me. I like video games, and I personally believe I'm fat. Well, yeah, again, that's two of us. I may not be. Sango says I'm not. A lot of people say I'm really not. But, no, that doesn't change the way I feel about it. And we are often our own harshest critics. It sounds to me, honestly, that you're not really a Legbeard. It sounds to me that you're kind of a nerdy teenager. The kind of teenage girl who grew up in the kind of culture that... Not really culture. What's the word I'm looking for? Subculture? I don't know. I'm not the best at this kind of shit. But I kind of went through the same thing. The anime boom was a huge deal when I was a kid, and I ended up watching a lot of different things. The thing now is, because anime and all these things have become so... Not just anime, but shows in general, have become so easy to sit into categories, and we now have all these categories, it's kind of a plus and minus thing. The plus is, for people like myself who, I like certain animes, but I only like the ones that are really like mind fucks and beyond fucking crazy. Your Akira's, Evangelion, shit like that. Things that get really dark and weird. That's got my number. And that works for me, as I can go into that category and be like, these are the things I like. But at the same time, I kind of feel like you should have an exposure to a little bit of everything, especially when you're young. You should be able to see, the drama, the romance, the action, all this other stuff, because it gives you a good taste of what you like and what you don't like. And it keeps you from getting too stuck in one place. There's this whole thing about movement. Not in movies and shows. Well, there probably is a thing about that in shows, but whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. This is a euphemism. A bad one, but it's a euphemism. Moving is incredibly important. But as people, we can't do it all the time. Eventually we get tired. You gotta sit down. You gotta take a break. But it's when you stop moving altogether that everything just stops working. It's when you stop moving altogether that you're dead. Don't be afraid to look into new things, to experiment with new stuff, to look around and find, new media, new shows, new things. Reach outside of your comfort zone from time to time. Yeah, you're not going to like certain things. That's totally fine, though. Because if you didn't reach out from time to time, you wouldn't know what you do and what you don't like. And it's that ability to reach outside of your comfort zone and learn a little that kind of discerns you from the idea of how a neckbeard or a legbeard acts. See, a lot of times they're very cloistered. They only stay within their own specific thought process, and they don't like to reach outside of it. Another personal example. I more or less kind of reached outside of my comfort zone on more than one occasion to look into, for example, this whole thing that everybody seems to like about Kingdom Hearts. I don't like it, but that's okay. It's not for me. I'm not the kind of person who thinks that Disney movies are the end-all be-all, and I'm not a huge fan of Disney musicals. But I know that there are a lot of people who are. Obviously. They make shit tons of money. There must be somebody watching it. So it doesn't surprise me that these things exist. And I gave it a shot. I tried it, and I tried more than one game before I, get the 500 comments like, oh, but you didn't try this one. It's like, oh, but I tried stuff. I'm not going to go into specifics in this video because it doesn't fucking matter, but the point is that I tried it and it wasn't for me. And that's okay, though. Because it's when you learn that something's not for you that you can kind of narrow down what actually is for you. Again, going back to my original kind of sort of point. I had a point? This is not really... You're not really a legbeard. You're just kind of a teenage geeky girl. And that's totally fine. It's okay to do that. It's okay to be a teenage geeky girl well into your 30s now. I mean, fuck, nobody cares. Do whatever you want. But the big thing is that you shouldn't beat yourself up over it. You're not doing anything bad. You haven't lashed out at people. You don't act like a pervert towards strangers. You're not claiming to be that one girl that the guys just don't realize how nice I am and that kind of attention-seeking shit. And you don't have that whole thing of like, oh, guys only date sluts, not nice girls. Those are the things that really push the legbeard thing. It's mentality and action over just generalizations. Or as we like to say on this channel, it's not the fedora, it's the fed-ora. I keep driving that home like it's going to be a fucking staple in something, and it's probably not. But, I like it anyway, and I thought it was clever when I came up with it, so fuck you. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I just kind of wanted to address this because I thought it was an interesting question. I don't know, what do you guys think? Leave your comments, and, if you're the one who wrote this and you see this, hey man, you're still a teenager. And a magical unicorn and his friends think you're cool, so you gotta be cool. That's like a rule. I mean, come on, it's the internet. Everybody knows that. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. I love you all. Goodbye.